regarding the raising of the interest rates on the student loans. But my comment then would be, because I had said if you initially weren't in favor of it and yet you were in favor of not letting the other legislation, the millionaire tax, sunset. One legislation should go forward in the other. But basically from what you said here today, it says to me then that somebody has projected the 3% interest that you were going to gain on in July. You've already projected it into the budget. Because once again, you're talking about an offset, but if it's an offset, that means you've had to have projected that increase, that additional 3%. Is that correct? Because otherwise, if it has not been projected in the budget for the future, then there's no reason to look at an offset, because you're not losing money, you're just not gaining money.
I think I understand your question. This was not in the budget. This was a separate bill, and it was used as an offset so that, because right now, the way things are legislated, nothing can cost money. You have to have an offset. You have to go back into and find a place where you can cut something or use money that's already there, that's already been budgeted. That money was budgeted in the healthcare law, so it was in the slush fund.
That's my point. It was an increase, so that unless somebody has already calculated the amount of money that this interest would bring in from July until December and into 2013, then there is no loss of revenues. If you've already put it into next year's budget, I'm not talking about the piece of legislation, but once again, you're saying that it's money that you have not received. It's not money you're going to lose. It's money that you have not received. Because the current rate is 3% plus something, and it's going, 3.4, and it's going up to 6.8. So it's doubling. But you haven't received that money, so there's no loss. There's only a loss if it's already been projected, and that was my question. In the your budget is October 1st. So in next year's budget, did they project that increase, and what were they using it for?
I have to check. I do not believe it was in the budget. This was a standalone.
Ergo, my point, then there's no reason to have an offset because you're not losing money.
Well, but they projected this money as income. They projected it coming in, maybe not in the budget.
Okay.
But they projected that there would be another 3.4% worth of interest coming in, and so there has to be an offset because technically that would be looked at as an increase. So that's why they use the slush fund money from HHS.
And yet, actually, if it was a projection of income and it is not spoken for in the 2013 budget, that could be used for the offset. In essence, it would be a wash. We're just hurting people on both sides.
Josh, Syracuse. Josh.
My question is more like a social question. I feel like a lot of things that you said today actually could relate to it a lot. And it was addressed this weekend at the Correspondence Dinner with President Obama, and Jimmy Kimmel addressed it. What is your position, personally coming from a healthcare background and a healthcare attorney, in medical marijuana reform in the United States, and with industrial cannabis, which could be used to save the government ultimately billions of dollars?
My staff is going to say to me, why did you take that last question? I have to be honest with you. My first reaction would be not to legalize it. I just don't know enough about it. I'm sure you have very good statistics and numbers that you'd like to show me, and then I have to look at them, but I just don't know enough information to talk about it. As we wind down, actually we did pretty well. If you left, Tom, you got in. It's a miracle. It's just a miracle. Let me just say thank you to all of you for coming tonight for this time together. We're going to have another town hall on May the 4th in Cicero, and I just want to say how much I appreciate you coming, how much I appreciate you caring about this country, and I would say to all of you that the issues that we face are American issues, and we have very different approaches, some of us, about how we're going to solve these issues. But unless we talk about them, and unless we have the discussions, and unless the Senate puts out a budget and we hammer out a budget that will get this country on a course that will balance the budget over time, we're not going to solve these problems. And I mentioned earlier about my grandparents, and many of you have heard this, came here from Italy. And they got on a boat not speaking English, and they came to this country without a cell phone, without a credit card, without knowing the language. And they came here because there was something in them that says the United States of America offers opportunity that nowhere else can offer. And for my parents, that was always their dream, to give us more than they had. And for the first time in our nation's history, and this is the seriousness of this whole issue and this discussion about debt and the deficit and how the government is running right now, we're not going to be able to give our kids a better life. We're not going to be able to give them opportunities that we didn't have if we continue down this path of spending money that we don't have, of a government that's out of control, with its spending habits, with its arrogance. When I tell you we really need to look at reform, the government has gotten too big. It's gotten away from its original, what it's supposed to be doing for us, and it's gotten into all these other areas. We can't afford it anymore. So while some of those things were really good and well-intentioned, we now are at a point in our nation where we can't afford to do it. And so they're difficult decisions and they're difficult discussions. It's like a family who's got, you've got that member who's a problem, whether they're an alcoholic or they have an emotional problem, what it is, and you come together as a family and you say, you kind of dance around it, and no one wants to break that point right now in this country. I would say, given the debt and the deficit and the liabilities this country faces, we're at that point. Unemployment continues to be over 8%. The American people are out of work. More people now are on entitlements than ever before. 67 million Americans are receiving some sort of assistance from the government. That's because our economy is so weak. But it also creates a problem because the government can't sustain those kinds of costs. So those are discussions we have to have. We've got to get this economy, going. We've got to get Americans back to work, and we've got to do the right thing for our kids and for our grandkids. So I thank all of you for coming here tonight. It's good to see you, and please, if you ever need anything in our office, the number is